Good day everyone, I'm Btvted introducing our research entitled Perception on Online Laboratory for Baking and Level of Basic Baking Skills of Third-Year FSM Students of Marikina Polytechnic College. Basis for an Intervention Plan. As researchers, we observe some of the common problems of online laboratories that the educators are using in giving activities online. Basic baking skills and student evaluation by online laboratory performance are currently a major challenge for all educators and students. The researchers are interested in conducting a research study about the perception on online laboratory for baking and level of basic baking skills of third-year FSM students. The integration of technology in the teaching and learning process aims to improve and give solution and recommendation to the learners' online laboratory and basic skills. In order to address this, an attempt will be made to respond to the following questions. Number 1. What is the perception of third-year FSM students on the online laboratory on the basic baking skills as perceived by themselves and the FSM instructors based on the following skills? A. Measuring ingredients, kneading, mixing method, creaming, using of tools and equipment, and last, temperature control. Number 2. Is there a significant difference between the perception of the two groups of respondents based on the given skills? Number 3. What is the performance of third-year FSM students in online laboratory for basic baking? Number 4. Is there a significant relationship between the students' performance and their perception on online laboratory for basic baking based on the given skills? And last and not least, what intervention plan may be proposed based on the findings of the study? And now, for the scope and the limitation, I will give the floor to Ms. Dokukan.
I'm Kian Tokuan and I will discuss the scope and the limitation of our research. These studies focus on perception on online laboratory and level of basic baking skills in baking subject, specifically third-year Btvted students, major in food and service management at Marikina Polytechnic College, Santa Elena, Marikina City, Philippines. School year 2022 to 2023. Conceptual model. Input. The respondents are 103 Btvted third-year FSM students and FSM instructors. Perception survey. Final laboratory grade. For the process, administration and retrieval of perception survey, collection and organization of data, statistical treatment of data, and analysis and interpretation of data. The output, perception of third-year FSM students and FSM instructors, 103 on the online laboratory of the basic baking skill as perceived by themselves, based on the perception survey. Significant difference between the perception of the two groups of respondents based on the perception survey. Performance of third-year FSM students, 103 in online laboratory for basic baking. Significant relationship between the students' performance and their perception on online laboratory for basic baking based on the perception survey. And last, the intervention plan may be proposed based on the findings of the study.
For the chapter 3 of this research, let us now proceed to the research methodology. The researchers utilized descriptive method of research and survey research methodologies, in which respondents were requested to answer out of surveys or questionnaires. The approach is a widely used market research technique for gathering input from respondents. The researchers employ descriptive method of research approaches in their study, because the research intends to gather students' perceptions of the online laboratory and basic baking skills of third-year Btvted FSM college students. Descriptive method or descriptive research was utilized. Baumgartner et al. 2021 emphasized that descriptive research aims to collect data from a group of study participants in order to characterize current aspects of behavior in a systematic, factually, and correct manner. The survey research method was also used because the researchers conducted a survey within the respondents and instructors to determine the performance of the students in taking baking subject in an online laboratory. The research survey method also will determine the students' perception regarding online laboratory assessment. For the sources of data. To determine the respondents, the researchers used random sampling. The sources of data in this research were 74 Btvted third-year FSM major students from 6 different sections who were officially enrolled in baking subjects, and 29 FSM instructors at Marikina Polytechnic College during the first semester 2022-2023, for the total of 103 students.
So for our data gathering instrument, the researcher prepared survey questionnaire and student assessment in the baking topic that will be utilized by the researcher to collect data. A research instrument is a tool for collecting reliable and systematic data, which is essential for doing a research, according to Abawet 2014. In this study, two major data collection devices were employed. The two instruments were administered to the assigned descriptive group, who were also the respondents in consultation with the research advisor. The two instruments were administered to the student assessment in an online laboratory in perception survey. Next is the first instrument employed in this study was a student evaluation in an online laboratory, specifically a grade that covered the topic in the last term of the first semester academic year 2022 to 2023 in the baking course. Assessments are typically used at the end of a session of education to determine how well students have learned according to Kibble 2017.
Now, we are going to proceed on the data gathering procedure. The researcher will use the data collection method in the form of questionnaire. So the survey questionnaire is a research instrument and method that uses in the series of list questions that are arranged systematically, and we will be sent this to the FSM, Btvted 3F, third year student, and FSM instructor of Marikina Polytechnic College. So it aims to obtain the information from respondents about their perception on online laboratory for baking subject and level of basic baking skills, considering the educational system is still under in our online learning setup due to our pandemic. Data gathering procedure, the link of the survey form will copy and paste by the researchers to response for them to access easily the survey questionnaire. The researcher will write a letter to the president of the school and to the dean of FSM faculty to sign the request in conducting the research. Primary data will be obtained directly through the result from questionnaires answered by the respondents. Aside from that, in this study, the researcher will use a random sampling. In this procedure, the researcher will use this method in excellence of controlling the bias. The researchers will use this list of all sections of FSM Btvted third year, especially in our FSM professor, that will draw their names in spin the wheel to randomly select the student and the professors that will be served as representative of our research. Male and female student will be separated to the representative about their gender and section to totally control the bias.
So after gathering the data, we're going to proceed to the statistical treatment of data. Statistical tools used in our study. So we use weighted mean. Weighted mean is calculated by multiplying the weight or the probability associated with a particular event or outcome with this associated quantitative outcome. So it is very useful in calculating the theoretical expected outcome, which were the outcome has different probability. This will be used to gather the retributive perception of our survey that we are going to conduct in third year level Btvted FSM, specifically on college level respondents. The perception of this survey is modified and created by the researcher according to the students' perceptions on online laboratory and basic baking skills. So the next test that we're going to do is the t-test. It is actually a type of inferential statistic. We're going to use this to determine if there is significant difference between the mean or two groups which may be related to the certain features. So the researchers will be used the first conventional approach to determine the performance of Btvted FSM 3G students in baking subject.
So here in third test, this was used to investigate if there is a significant difference between the perception of two groups of the respondents based on the given skills. If there is significant relationship between the students' perception and their perception on online laboratory for basic baking based on the given skills. Third test is by definition, it is the correlated. T-test is performed when the samples is typically consist of matched type pairs of similar units or when there is a cases repeated measurements. This is according to HIAS 2020. So the process of analyzing the data, we have formulating the hypothesis, and then we also have to determine the number of samples, which represent letter N, and it is also calculating the weighted mean and the standard deviation. After that, we're going to determine the computed t-value of the t-value and critical and I-value and degree of freedom to create a decision and interpretation according to the formula. In percentage, this will be going to inspect to provide comments and suggestion in an online laboratory as perceived by the Btvted 3F FSM third year students. The percentage will be computed and obtained dominant quantity will be applied to define the most profitable scenario. We will also going to use the rank method. This will be used to arrange in ascending order to provide comments and suggestion with the respondents to determine the frequency applied percentage in order of size. So by the definition, according to Maximo 2013, by definition, the ordinal scale provides measurement based on the rank order. So meaning the usefulness of rank lies in the situation which meaningful interval or ratio scale is not feasible. As you can see in the screen, we use a lot of factual resources that provide the foundation of our research. And that will be all for our video presentation. We are glad that we present to you our research presentation via PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, and God bless us all.